This appeared in the Sunday Star, Washington, D.C., October 18, 1914. On page 5, The White Lady of the Hohenzollerns. Will the famous White Lady of the Palace of Bayreuth soon walk? This is the question that now occurs to the mind of the student of history. For this apparition, the banshee of the House of Hohenzollern is supposed to walk through the halls of the castle of the ancient ancestors, home of the present Emperor of Germany, who is also the King of Prussia. The family ghost of Emperor William belonged to the royal family of Prussia when they reigned under the title of the Margraves of Brandenburg, and has come down from father to son. It is believed that the White Lady ambles about in the night, watches when there is a death or calamity about to happen to the Hohenzollerns, and that she thus foretells any coming disaster. The apparition is described as a tall feminine figure clothed in white, with a black veil concealing her breast and face. Behind this veil glows the dim outline of a beautiful but sad face, whose expression is one of extreme pain. The upper part of her slender form is covered with a pelisse or outer cloak of dark fur. The story told of the White Lady is that she was the beautiful Countess Kunigunde of Plassenburg, and in her early youth was obliged by unkind parents to wed the ancient count, with whom she lived unhappily but a few years. The old count died, leaving his charming widow 2 children, girls, and the estates of Allemunde and von Plassenburg, which lands made the widow one of the richest women in that part of the country. The countess was fond of life and became one of the gayest spirits in the noble society of the day. Among the distinguished men of her acquaintance was the Burgrave of Nuremberg, who was called Albert the Handsome. The German people loved him, and the young women of the nobility did the same, and much was made by all over this ancestor of the present German emperor. But the Burgrave did not respond to the affection of the countess, for his heart was a captive to the charms of the beautiful Beatrice of Hainault, and to her he became engaged. The countess, unaware of the way his feelings leaned, asked him to marry her. She said she could place in his hands the fair lands of Plassenburg, as well as Orlamunde. But the Burgrave smiled and replied that he would like to marry her were it not for 2 pairs of eyes in existence. This remark meant his parents, who were much opposed to the fair countess, but Kunigunde understood it as meaning the pair of eyes of her 2 young daughters, that they stood in the way of the fulfillment of her wish to wed Albert. So one night she crept into the chamber where the girls lay asleep, and with a long, gold-jeweled pin, which was a gift from Albert, the unnatural mother, pierced the brains of her children. In the morning they were found dead in bed, without any mark of violence, and it was thought they had died of a stroke of apoplexy. Kunigunde sent for Albert, and when he came, told him that the 2 pairs of eyes no longer stood in his way, that for his love she had destroyed her 2 children. Recoiling in horror, Albert seized the murderess and dragged her down into her own dungeon, the door of which he locked. She was tried and condemned to death, and her execution took place in the very chamber in which she had killed the 2 girls, and in the presence of the Burgrave himself. But before she placed her head on the block, Kunigunde raised her arms and swore that in death she would pursue Albert's family, that whenever any one of them were to die, she would come as a warning and be present, just as the Burgrave was now at her execution. Her body was buried in a convent, her lands passed by an old treaty into the hands of Albert, who now became owner of Orlamunde and Plassenburg, with Bayreuth and Burgundy. In a short time he married Beatrice, but he had enjoyed his domestic felicity but a short time when he died suddenly one night, exclaiming that Kunigunde had come to take him away with her. Since then the ghost of the Countess Kunigunde has been said to have haunted the castle of Bayreuth and to appear frequently at night, especially when any disaster is about to fall or death to visit the imperial family. As the White Lady, she was known to Napoleon, who once slept in the haunted palace. Is the White Lady walking now to foretell William's doom, or does she slumber quietly in her convent grave?